morning. It's Friday over here, and it's cloudy today. The sun is not in my face. Today's little car message talk, I thought, well, what can I do on this Friday? What can I talk about? First, I want to say, if you watched yesterday's car talk or read what I wrote about it, you know that I was having a little difficulty dropping the kids off, or I felt some kind of way after dropping them off. And, the last thing I said to them was sort of nagging them about my daughter likes to correct people and yell, and especially a brother, and her tone was just mean and off. And I told her that you can't. I asked her, do you correct people in your class who are being disruptive and interrupting the teacher and causing everyone to not learn? Are you yelling at them too because they're bothering you? And she said no. And I said, well, why are you yelling at your brother who's sitting next to you in the car because he's burping? I mean, that's just what he does sometimes when he's sitting there. And she hates that. And so she's yelling at him. And I said, why do you feel the need to correct him for doing that? You cannot control another person. You can't make them do things that you want them to do. You just can't. Even though it would be easier on everyone if, easier on you if other people would just do everything you want them to do. But they don't, because they're different people, right? We can't control other people, even though we try. And she's really trying to control her brother, because what he's doing upsets her and is annoying and frustrating and irritating. But we can't do that. We just can't. And I said, even though you can't do those things, you are responsible for you. You are responsible for everything that comes out of your mouth, every word that you say, your tone, your behavior. You can't point at other people and say, well, they caused me to do this or that, because it's still you. You did it. And so that was the lecture kind of that I was honing in and preachy about yesterday when I dropped them off. And then I happened to see them in the cafeteria because I had to go in and drop off some records. And as I was leaving, I peeked in the cafeteria. I was not walked all the way in, but I could see the inside of the cafeteria, and I saw them sitting down. My son was sitting by himself, looked like he was drawing. He looked fine, but then I noticed his sister is not sitting with them. She chose to sit all the way clear across the cafeteria by herself at a table, and she's just sitting there doing nothing. And I felt sad. That was the last picture I had of my children as I was driving home yesterday and did the car talk. So that was what was on my mind. And as I was thinking about, wow, I'm leaving them for the day, and the last thing they hear me say is me lecturing my daughter about her mouth and about her tone and about her responsibility for her words and actions. I'm not saying those things aren't true, because they are, but I just wish that I could be more. Can I deliver the message a little better? I wondered. And I also wonder, truthfully speaking, how I could fix it for her and for them. But you know what? I cannot teach them everything they need to know. I can't tell them these things. Some of these things they're just going to have to go through. And they will learn that way, just like I did. lot of things. I thought I knew. Actually, I thought I knew when I was their age, or a little older. I thought I knew all there was to know. I mean, because I was pretty intelligent, just like they are. They're pretty smart. But sometimes, and you can read and you can do research, and so you think, oh, I know all that there is to know. There's nothing that you can't tell me that I don't already kind of know or can find out. But that's ignorance. That's a lack of wisdom. And that's a young age. I know this now, but anyway. So that's part of what I didn't really want to. I did want to share that yesterday, but anyway, that's what happened yesterday, in case you're curious. Today, what I wanted to sort of share with you, more personal, but I just got done listening to Dr. Crawford Loritz of Living a Legacy. I think that's the name of the podcast by Moody Radio. I love it. And I think my very first car talk, I was talking about how I was telling the kids that they need to find a way to spiritually feed themselves, because they're starving themselves. I mean, just eating a meal once a week when we go to church is really not enough. So I wanted them to come up with something. So anyway, for me, sometimes I listen to podcasts, and I do like the Living the Legacy one. And so this morning on the drive over to school, when they're trapped in the car with me for 25 minutes to drive to school, I listen to the Living the Legacy podcast. This particular one is on, I think it's on How to Encourage Yourself, part 1. I was actually looking for the part 2 one, but I think I pressed the wrong one, and I listened to the other. Excuse me. I listened to the other part of it. And in it, one of the things that stuck out to me that he was talking about was, you can't be a Christian and be independent, meaning like you don't need anyone else. Like you can live as a Christian completely by yourself without anyone's help, support, nothing. You can just do it all on your own. And he said, sometimes our pride gets in the way, where we refuse the help of others, because really we aren't meant to do it alone, do this life alone. And I guess that stood out to me. And so I thought that for this car talk, I would share with you 2 prayer requests that our family that I have on my mind. And if you feel inclined to pray for us, please let me know that you are, so that I can just know that, and I appreciate it. All right, so my 2 prayer requests are, as you know, we are in transition. We're still in transition. We moved from our apartment in South Korea on September the 9th or 10th, something like that, because we're only supposed to be there 2 years. So we should have been flying out by September 11th, but we didn't. We got delayed due to COVID, because we needed a particular memo that wasn't signed yet to move internationally, basically. That took a little while, so that was a delay, and then we had to wait on the next flight, delay. Anyway, we finally were able to leave. Got here, found out, okay, quarantine here. Wow, I didn't know that they did quarantine. So delay. I'm not whining about it. I feel like I'm whining in a way, because we are healthy, we are safe, everybody's fine. Really, it's just taking So it has a long way to go. So either the paperwork online isn't up to date and actually it did move, or it hasn't moved, which is pretty discouraging, right? We can be discouraged, and I have been discouraged. Actually, only been, for me, I was discouraged when we're trying to buy a home, when the home that we put an offer for after the inspection that we paid for revealed some problems, significant problems. We asked for a lower price and they said no. So then we decided to walk away, which meant we lost our monies that we already put into it, and we had to start all the way over. So that at that point, I began to get a little discouraged. But then I started preaching to myself. That's what I tell people, because that's basically what I was doing. You know, just like reminding myself of God's faithfulness and His goodness. And many times things have happened and we didn't know everything. We don't know everything. We don't know everything that's going on. And I was just remembering that I trust God. You know, I do. But I had to get back to that by reflecting on what God has done and where we are as a family, and just thinking about the fact that, you know, I'm over here complaining because I don't have a place to put my roots, my stuff. I'm not able to get started, and there are people who don't have a home, who don't have a place to stay. They constantly live in transition because that's all they have. I mean, and I'm complaining. So it took me a minute, but I was able to get myself back to a healthy state. I think that's possible it's possible for me because I was already, I'm already firmly planted in the root of trusting in Jesus, right? I'm already dug in, I know the Lord, and I know He's faithful, and at the same time, I am human, I'm a normal person. I have feelings and expectations and needs, and so sometimes I get disappointed. Just like you might be a Christ follower, you might trust God with your life, your eternity, but when it comes to day-to-day things, sometimes we can get distracted. So that's why community is great, or that's why community is great. Sometimes you don't even know you're in this funk until somebody that knows you can ask you, hey, what's going on? So but that's one prayer request, is that actually the latest news we found out yesterday was so this new place that we put a bid for, and everything's going along. The next thing was to pay for an appraisal to be done, and we found out yesterday that appraisal is not going to happen until over a month from now. The appraisal, which means, there are things that can't happen until after that's done. So we're talking about closing and moving in December now, which is like, what? That is not what anyone was thinking. We were thinking at most it would be right before Thanksgiving, which is already late, but now we're talking about December. And so we were just surprised everyone was surprised at that, which is causing us now to look around at other banks, and which means you got to start the paperwork over again. It's just so I'm not sweating it, but I'm just like, wow, okay, I don't know what this means. Does this mean this is not the house we're supposed to be in, or does this mean for whatever reason we're not supposed to move in yet? Is this God's way of just continuing to refine us and my husband, just sort of like a reminder of, we're not in control of this life. So I'm not sure. I'm holding on to it lightly. I was just surprised at the news. I'm handling it fine, but actually this part, I think my first disappointment was the first time. Now I'm like, okay, I remember. This is a journey. My next prayer request. So the prayer request is, it would be nice to get into a place, our permanent home place, and to begin getting our things and get it all set up and everything before the beginning of the new year. That's my hope, that I'd be able to kind of do that. My next prayer request, my last one that I will share, that's burdening me. Well, not really burdening, but I just want to let you know. And if you want to pray for me throughout this journey, I'd really appreciate it. And that is, you might know or not. I don't know, because I haven't really posted it yet. But I was going to post more about it after I heard the news. But then I thought, you know what? I will share this, and if you're listening, then you get to hear. So, I applied for seminary, and I applied for early decision because I was, thanks to all the people that did recommendations for me, I was able to submit everything earlier. So that means I get an early decision. I should know by the next Friday. Next Friday is the 30th, which is the date that they said, I should know. And it's on my mind, of course, because it's just nice to know what's happening next, and do other people see can other people see the call that has been placed on your life. So my prayer is that I wouldn't be anxious about that or anything, but that I would continue to trust that God will lead the way, which He already is and has. And I'll be sharing more about who I've been able to meet and talk to during this time, which I sincerely appreciate. But I didn't want to share about that yet until I got a decision. Because I didn't want to have to say, well, no, I didn't get in, so what is up with that? So I thought, okay, all right, so that is on my mind. I just obviously, well, that's what's happening. I can't even tell you if I'm gonna be able to get in or not, because we'll just all have to see in a week. So in the meantime, I'm just continuing to respond to the people that are in front of me, and continuing to do the things that I need to do to thrive in a new environment, which is make connections with others. I've met my new PWC group of ladies for the class that I'm in, and you know what, I should talk about that on Monday, because that's a God thing too. And continuing to get in God's word, and be on this journey of trying to find a church home. That's prayer number 3. We want to find our church home here, be led to that place. I think the place that we were last at seemed very promising, but I haven't heard from the pastor yet. I asked to speak to him, but I'm not gonna worry about it. We'll just see. I'm just gonna keep going, and we'll just see. So, bye.